Hi everyone, welcome to UTV Gooner and our show, The Shooting Lone Star with Ram from the Austin Gooners. Hi bro, how are you?
Hey, what's up, Amit? Doing great. Hasn't been the best week, right, on the Arsenal front. Um, but we continue moving on. The games are coming thick and fast. Um, if you would have told me at the beginning of the year that with 3 or 4 games remaining, or no, wait, this would be the last game remaining in October coming up, right? Nottingham Forest. If you would have told me that we would have had 19 out of 24 points in October, um, like at the beginning of the season or whenever we saw the fixture list, I would have been thrilled, man. Like I would have, that's good, right? And we went on such a great run. Um, but we'll get into it as we talk about these games. But yeah, it's part of the highs and the lows, right, of professional football and being a fan. So, but we're still confident, I think, and we're going to be turning up on Sunday at the tavern, downtown Austin, and be ready to roll, man. Be fun.
Yeah, you were saying it last week that through the season you're gonna have ups and downs. There's always going to be a period where form does drop off. We've seen it even with you was mentioning it last week, where the great Man City teams of recent times, even when they've been winning the league and getting all them points, they've had times in the season where they've dropped off. And we saw it last season where they had a big lead of Liverpool, and they went on a bit of a bad run, and Liverpool managed to catch them up. So it's part of the game. It's been such a good start, as you said. Been a great October as well. Just a disappointing last week. I was saying to you in the last week's show, it's been great every time. We're saying looking forward to talking about a couple more wins,
Yeah.
winning the league, winning the Europa League. And then on the next show we can talk about that. But this time, unfortunately, we haven't got two wins. It was a draw and a defeat. First, let's talk about the draw with Southampton. I thought we played really well. That first half, we were dominant, could have had more goals than we did. Second half, I don't know if it's down to tiredness. Got to give him credit again, like I said in the Leeds game. Got to give other team credit as well. They did play well in that second half, but we should have won that game. We were doing so well going into half time. It was looking like it was only going to be one winner, but we know what football's like. These things can happen. Southampton fought back, got the equaliser, finished 1-1. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. What first of all, what a great goal by Granit Xhaka, right? Um, Especially early on, and I thought, that was in the 11th minute, and I thought, okay, like we're gonna get just continue it on, and we're gonna put this team away, and that just never happened. And I hate to be like a person that blames referees because I feel like over the course of an entire season, and even sometimes over the course of a game, like the bad kind of balances out, right? Like you kind of you might get some calls. You're like, oh, what's going on? And then eventually you're going to get some that go your way. And I think we definitely saw a lot of calls that I felt were questionable, and I thought like that Gabriel Jesus, I felt like that should have been a penalty. And we didn't get a lot of calls that are going our way, and for Bukayo Saka to get a yellow card for essentially getting fouled, like makes no sense to me. And I think that not necessarily. I don't think the refereeing had an effect on the game, but I think it had an effect on the flow, or not on the effect of like the game in terms of like the result. I just think it had an effect on how Southampton started playing us and how we started playing. Like you almost felt like Southampton saw that as like a green light to just uh, test their luck and see how physical they can be and what they can get away with. And as we saw, like they were just getting away with so much and just kind of took over the physicality of the game. And the goal that they got was incredible. Like, that's the first thing I said as they scored. I was like, wow, like that was good team play. Like they just really smoked us. Made Tomiyasu look bad, made our whole back line look bad. And for the most part, we played pretty good. And um, yeah, just I don't know what to attribute it to. It might have been the fatigue or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean it's definitely disappointing to drop points, especially when we had the lead so early on and we had chances and we could have put it away at 2-0. at 3-0. We had, and then even afterwards, I felt like we did have some chances later in the game, but as the game wore on, we started getting into the later stages of it. I was just like, you know what? I'm happy walking away with a point because one little theme that I'm going on in my head is we're on like a revenge tour. So last year we had like 13 losses, right? And so this is one of the games where we lost, right? The same exact fixture from last year, right? Away to Southampton, they beat us. I think it was 1-0 toward the end of the season, right? That kind of saw our season kind of go off the rails a little bit. And we turned that into a point. So last year, we didn't get a point out of this fixture. This year we got one slight improvement. That's just me kind of like reaching to kind of look and see the positives of it. But yeah, it could have been better, man. But yeah, I think as I also said with a couple of my other buddies, like this is it definitely provided a lot of at least some game film for Arteta and the coaching staff to kind of be like, all right, like look at us, look at us drop points. And um, as we'll continue to go on talking about the Europa match, but this is sort of the beginning of this little dip in the roller coaster was started on Sunday. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as we're saying, as you said last week, these things will happen through a season, and we cannot complain with the start we've had. What a start it's been to drop 5 points in the league so far. Only 5 points, 11 games in. That's amazing. And as you said in
Yeah.
October, the stat you mentioned in October, it's been a great October. We said October is going to be really hard. It's going to be a big test for the squad. So we've done so well. Let's hope we can finish it off with a win against Nottingham Forest. Get into
Hmm.
that in a minute. But first, let's talk about the PSV game. So this one, you know, with the Europa League, it's difficult. We know we're going to rotate. We're not going to have our first team out. And going into that game, we knew we just needed 1 point out of the last two games to seal top spot. So the motivation is not going to be as high as it would like if we're fighting still to qualify. We'd already qualified, and it's very likely we're going to get this 1 point that we needed in the last two games to get top spot. PSV, they were still playing to try to qualify, so they had a lot more on the line. It was a tricky game because I thought first half we weren't that bad. They had 2 goals disallowed, but we had a couple of good chances as well. Martinelli, Odegaard, and it was decent. And then second half, again, I think you got to say on the balance of play, they deserved to win. And it was not the best of performances, but for me, I can say, even like ahead of that game, I wasn't really that concerned, even if we lost, because I'm very confident we're going to beat Zurich at home next week here. So, we're still going to get the top spot, which is the main thing. We've already qualified. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think yeah, I kind of agree, and then also maybe not necessarily disagree, but maybe I have a little bit more of like a sense of fear, if you will, and I'll go with why I don't like have any fear. Like in isolation, exactly as you said, Europa, we've already clinched. We had an opportunity to clinch first in the group, which is allows us to kind of skip past two games. Um, and yes, PSV had a lot more to play for. It's away. It's against a difficult opponent. Um, you know what I mean? Like, so there's going to be a lot of um, it just there was a lot of factors that kind of like led to us thinking, or led to this match being like not necessarily one that I thought we were going to win outright or at least convincingly. Um, to go off your point, yeah, like a lot of players that like the back line, for example, like Tomiyasu, Saliba, Holding, and Tierney. I'm not keeping track of like every back line we have every game, but I'm pretty sure like that's the first time we've had that exact combination. You know what I mean? And it looked like it. We didn't look like we weren't playing very well. And Rob Holding, I think, had probably one of the poorest nights out of the whole team. Tierney did okay. Tomiyasu, I don't think did look very good, or they all just kind of looked average. Same for Nketiah. Like overall, I think we just looked very average. I think the only player that looked really good, or at least could at least hold his head up high, that he did his job the best he could, was Vieira, man. I thought he did some pretty cool things, especially in the first half, to set up some chances and some nice crosses inside the box. I was pleased with his performance, and early on, I was like, man, Fabio's looking good out there, man. It just didn't it just didn't turn out the way we were hoping it it turned out. You know what I mean? Um, I thought Lokonga, especially, I really like him. I like Lokonga, but I don't think like him and Xhaka playing in that little partnership in the midfield like is not. He Lokonga is not the same player like Thomas Partey is, and I thought when we did put in the reserves, um, I thought it was maybe a little bit too little, too late at that point. Even though like we did our first substitution like in the 57th minute, but I think at that point the PSV kind of had control of the game already, and so it was really hard to kind of like pull it away from them at that point. Um, which in hindsight, obviously, right? Every time you look in hindsight, you're thinking like hindsight's always going to be perfect. In hindsight, I will say maybe we should have just gone with our strongest starting 11 and gone forward and try to win. Who knows what would have happened, right? Well, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Uh, yeah, and then on the flip side of it, like it did kind of, as I mentioned with that Southampton game, kind of the starting the dip of the roller coaster. This is where we kind of were falling down. That's how it felt watching that second half, just kind of going straight down. And so hopefully we're going to kind of see an increase, right, and kind of go up a little bit. But yeah, this definitely, I guess because I can't think of a better phrase than saying rock bottom. This was sort of like we hit the dip, right? Like we hit not necessarily rock bottom, but this result I think was coming over. Like we kind of saw this coming over the past few games. Maybe starting with like the Leeds match, just kind of how how much we've struggled, I guess, to score goals, and then also just to take control of games. But at the same time, I don't think the sky is falling. I don't even think like it's getting cloudy yet. Like this is just what was going to happen at some point. You know what I mean? Like we're not going to be perfect. No team. Oh, again, only one team in the history of the Premier League has ever been perfect. And this year it's just not going to happen again. Obviously, and we have a young team. This is the first time. We're doing a lot of uncharted waters kind of stuff with the team. Right. Last year was no Europa fighting for fourth place. This year it's now we've got Europa. We're also fighting for top of the league. Like we're in positions this team is just as a unit has not been used to. So kind of a learning experience. And then again at the same time, this is what happens, right? You're going to have your ups, your downs. We're just experiencing some down moments at the time. So it is what it is. And again, as has been the case in October, regardless of the result, you got to kind of like, as a fan, because the players are having to do this, is just getting over it and then starting to think of the next one. So, not a great result, but hey, we're still in control of our own destiny in Europa League and top of the league in the Premier League, right? So we go into Sunday still in good position, regardless of the situation.
Yeah, for sure. No need to dwell on it. Move on to the next one. It's a long season. As I said, what a start it's been. It's been amazing. So just got to pick it back up, reset, going to a Nottingham Forest game now, get the 3 points. Hopefully it'll be a great performance and we batter them. And then, that'll build up the confidence again. But any win, we must just get back into that winning
Yeah.
routine, where we've been so good, just been winning so many games. So let's hope we can just get the win. But ideally, it would be nice if we can give them a good thrashing. So yeah, let's talk more detail about the Nottingham Forest game now. So with them, we know they're a promoted team and they've not had the best of starts, but they have just won their last game and it was against a big team, Liverpool. And they played well in that one, got the 1-0 win. It was at their ground. This time they're coming over to us. We know how strong our record is here at home at the Emirates. So confident that we can get the win. But what do you think dangers Nottingham Forest pose? How do you think we should be looking to approach it?
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, even with that win, they're still bottom of the table. They got 9 points, negative 15 different goal differential. Got a lot of injuries going on with them. But that's yeah, the game that they played against Liverpool, excuse me. And I actually, pulled up and decided to watch that match. Um, it was impressive how they just kind of took it to them, man. They weren't afraid. Liverpool had their chances as well. And Nottingham Forest, despite the results they've been getting, like they played pretty well at home, right? They lost, I think, 2-0 to Tottenham. And I remember just kind of thinking like, oh, Tottenham, I know the results not saying that they got lucky, but oh, they got lucky. Like, and they did, right? A couple of defensive lapses on on Nottingham's part led to Tottenham both of their goals, right? So I think, and this is the team that beat Arsenal in the first round of the FA Cup or the third round or whatever. Our first match in the FA Cup last year was it was the start of like a really ugly month of January. So this is another one of these matches, not necessarily a revenge tour match, but this is a team that did beat us, and I think we have to go into this match and take it seriously because Nottingham Forest is not going to be a team that's going to be afraid because they just beat Liverpool, and I don't know how similar this team was to the team that played Arsenal last year, but that this team this team is not going to come into the Emirates afraid. So I think we need to go with our strongest 11, and I think we need to like come out and like we've been doing, continue to just try and put 2-3 goals on them, ahead of right off the bat. I mean, and that's what we've been doing every game, maybe minus this past one against PSV. That's how we've been coming out. Even against even the 1-0 win against Leeds, the 1-1 draw on Southampton, we've come out on the front foot and we've brought it to these teams, and we've again that this has become sort of the theme of this second half of the month is, well, if our shots were going in, this game would have been put away. Like we need to put away this game early, and we need to put it on. Like we gotta batter them, man. Um, because I think the longer we keep them in the match, and we saw this against Liverpool, the longer that match was 0-0, the more belief that a team like this is going to have. You know what I mean? And so yeah, we just got to put in our best players in there. I kind of have a well, yeah, yeah, maybe we can go into lineups or whatever, but yeah, I think our best 11, and I think um, yeah, we just got to put it on them, man. 5-0, like we need a big win to kind of restore the feeling again, because I think there is a little bit of sense of not necessarily fear in the fan base, and I don't know how these players are playing, but just I think I think the PSV as if any loss can be a good loss, I think that was a good loss, right? You kind of as you mentioned, right? There's really no, it's kind of like no man's land, right? Like we weren't going to lose our position in the group. We weren't going to lose our ability to control our own destiny in the group. Um, and we got the loss, and it sucks, but we have to move on. And I think that's the perfect time to get a loss. Because then we can bounce back. Now we can see again how this team responds to a loss, because the first time we lost the match was against United, and then because of the Queen dying or whatever, there was a few delays and it was a weird lead up to it. But this one is like, boom, right away, 3 straight days later, it's time to go again.
I'd love it if it'd be 5-0.
Yeah.
That'd be great. What's your prediction?
Uh I'm gonna say, even though I say we need to jump on them, I think it's gonna be closer than we hope it to be. But I think ultimately it ends 3-1. Um, I think it's like 2-1 late into the game, and then we just put them away and finish it off. But I think we jump ahead 2-0. They might score one to kind of close it up a little bit, then and then it's a 3-1. Again, I hope I'm wrong. Some of the games that we battered teams, like I've been wrong, and I kind of hope I'm wrong on this one too. But I want to see us come out here and score 2 quick goals, or just just come out and dominate possession, and then not like kind of like the I feel like we peaked or one of our peak games was against Brentford. I want to see a game like Brentford where we just put the team away and just make it boring for the neutral fan and fun for us.
Yeah, it'd be great to see a nice dominant display and get a few goals in. So we'll ask you about the Zurich game now, though,
Yeah,
in terms of how we approach that one. It is very important for us to finish top because, as you say, we're going to avoid playing two games, which when there's so many fixtures, it's always a great advantage to have to play them, not play them two games. So it's important in that way, but it's also important we don't want to be playing a Champions League team, which will be difficult. We can beat the Champions League team, no doubt, but we'd rather avoid that whole scenario with two games and playing a difficult game, which could mean that we can't progress further in the Europa League. So, how seriously would you want to take that one? Bearing in mind that after that, we know what's on the weekend.
Chelsea.
Yes, big game. So, how would you approach the Zurich game in terms of lineup?
Um, honestly, we're gonna have to. I might have a better answer maybe after the this Nottingham Forest game. We'll
Oh,
see how
that's
that goes.
that's the thing. It's tricky because I'm asking you about a game that's after another game, so you don't know what's going to happen. Many things could happen. It could be injuries.
Yeah,
We don't know what's going to happen. It's a difficult one, but just looking at it now, let's say all being well, we're beating Nottingham Forest, haven't had any injuries. We're going into the Europa League game, which is a very important game now, uh, for the reasons I was saying. But the Chelsea game is more important.
yeah.
So one of my main rivals is away from home, Premier League, which is the most important competition for us. How would you approach the Zurich game? Putting you on the
I
spot.
think I
Well, what
I
would you?
would rotate. I would rotate, but I would probably not play someone like Rob Holding. I think we got to play with our strongest back four, and then I would rotate all of everybody else. Put Sambi in there, let Nketiah get a go. I think Fabio Vieira needs to continue to get some run in because he's starting to look a little bit better. Um, and rest Saka a little bit. I think rest our heavy hitters, heavy attackers for that Chelsea game. But I think our defense, I think the fact that our back four just hadn't played one game together as a unit, it really showed. And I don't want us to make any kind of stupid errors in a game against Zurich and just give away that game. So I kind of want to see us um, go strong on the defensive end and maybe even start Ramsdale again and give them an opportunity to like redeem themselves a little bit. Uh, but at the same time, rest our attackers, if you will. You know what I mean? I think that would be the best of both worlds because I don't know if we could put our starting 11 against Zurich, right, in the Europa League, and then if we have a bad result against Chelsea, like oh shit, like then maybe the sky starts falling a little bit. But yeah, I would say that like a little bit, kind of not necessarily our best starting 11 or really just mailing it in with the whole second team. I think we got to kind of find a happy medium and at least solidify our defense and then just let our young guys like, hey man, you got to step up. Like Sambi needs to step up. And Kedia, like I like the guy, but he's not had a good run this season so far. He needs to step up. um yeah, our depth, the little depth that we have, needs to step up some, and yeah, this is be an opportunity for them to do so, I think.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you would mainly still keep the faith with a rotation policy. There's two ways looking at it. You can say that, you know what, we're coming very close to the World Cup now as well. So after the Chelsea game, we've got Brighton in the Carabao Cup. So that's probably a game where you're definitely not going to be playing any of
I don't
the.
give a shit about that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's the game where you definitely won't be playing any of our main players. So maybe we say, you know what, two games, we go all out. I know it's a 2 day turnover between Thursday and Sunday, but go all out, get the wins, and then rest everyone for the Brighton game. And then after that, there's only the one more game against Wolves.
Yeah.
There's the rest. So there's the argument that, you know what, go all out, play the start 11, get ahead early against Zurich, get 2, 3 goals up, then we can rest some of them for the Chelsea game. And in that way, we're guaranteed we've got the top spot in the Europa League. We avoid them 2 extra games, avoid the Champions League teams, and we're through to that next stage, the stage after the next stage. It's
Hmm.
weird how they've done it. How the top team goes through to that next stage, and then the team that's second has to play the Champions League team to get into that next stage. Don't
Yeah.
know why they've done it like this, but it is what it is. But yeah, let's see what Arteta decides to do. It's a big week. We really need to get 2 wins. Hopefully we can. Before we go though, let's just talk as we do normally about some of the other games coming up this weekend, involving our rivals. Starting with Man City, who are playing Leicester away.
Yeah. Leicester have kind of turned it up a little bit, sneaked out of the relegation zone. I mean, although they're still kind of right there, right? 11 points, just 2 points off the drop or whatever. But they've started to pick it up a little bit in their performances. 2 straight wins, 4-0 against oh, let me see. Oh no, 3 straight games where they've gotten points, right? 0-0 against Crystal Palace, 2-0 against Leeds. Leeds, man, feel bad for them. 4-0 against Wolves. I think they kind of continue that good little run of form um, against Manchester City. I don't know if they pull off the win, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get maybe a draw, right, and share some points. Manchester City has looked. I mean, it's still good, right? They've looked a little bit. How do you say, like not invincible as of late. So lost 1-0 to Liverpool. They've drawn 0-0 in their past 2 Champions League games. They did win 3-1 against Brighton as in a response to their loss against Liverpool. So yeah, they're kind of up and down as well. Again, like I've always been saying, like every single team is dropping points or not looking good, not looking perfect. So I think Leicester has a chance to kind of pounce and again help us. And it'd be nice if City drops some points, especially if we run into a difficult matchup with Nottingham. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah,
gonna say I'll say 2-2. I think Leicester's gonna play a little play tough, man. They're trying to stay in the Premier League. Build up some momentum.
yeah, I hope so. They can get some points off Man City. Don't see them beating them, but could they get a draw? They have picked up their form. As I said, Man City haven't looked as good recently. Seen them struggling in the Champions League. Last couple of games were 0-0 there. And yeah, let's hope City slip up. Leicester can do us a favour. That'd be nice. So next on to Tottenham, who are playing Bournemouth away.
Oh boy. Tottenham have not looked good in the past couple games, which is great for us, right? Just on a rivalry standpoint. And then, of course, they're going to be one of our top 4 competitors, if you will. Um, just Bournemouth is not a team that I find exciting at all, or any kind of competitive or any competitive at all. They are 14th, right? They're getting results here and there. They are playing at home. I think Bournemouth I think we get lucky again, and I think we get a draw. I think Tottenham is going through a little bit of a funky spell. And as I've been saying all year, they're not very impressive. So I think we get like a 1-1 draw. I wouldn't be surprised even if we get like 0-0, man. I think Bournemouth should just like park the bus, just like Tottenham does, and we might see a game where just nobody's trying to lose, and maybe we just get a boring match. I'm not even going to tune into that one, but I do hope that I do kind of hope my prediction is more hope based on hope that we get like a 1-1 or a 0-0 draw on that one.
Okay, yeah, it's great to see Tottenham struggling so much. They've really dropped off. They were doing so well, but losing all these games recently. We talked about last week the game against Newcastle and said, yeah, that's going to be difficult for them. And we saw Newcastle really played well and deserved to get the win. And we saw them struggling in the Champions League as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
hope that continues for them. And Bournemouth have picked up, as you said, they're doing all right compared to how they started the season. After that loss against Liverpool is looking really bad for them, but they have picked it up. So yeah, let's hope Bournemouth can get something there. Then next up, let's talk about Chelsea's game away to Brighton.
Well, Brighton, I'm looking at their past 5 games, and they've gotten 2 points out of the 5 matches out of a possible 15. So they've been struggling to get some results ever since they went 3-3 draw to Liverpool. They've kind of lost 1-0 to Tottenham, lost 2-0 to Brentford, drew 0-0 to Forest, and then lost 3-1 to City. So, and in all those games, I think even the City match, they did fall behind 2-0, fought back to go 2-1, and then just kind of lost it at the end. They're going to be a difficult. They're not going to be an easy match, right? Not you can't just go in there to Brighton and expect to win easily. So that's going to be a tough one. Um, and but I think Chelsea might just end up pulling out the victory on that one, just because part of me is saying that just because I think, of course, it's kind of like one of those things like we're about to play them, so of course when we're about to play a team, they kind of see a little improvement in form. That 1-1 draw for Chelsea against United was, I think you had mentioned it perfectly, how this both teams were just trying not to lose. Before that, they had a 0-0 draw to Brentford. I didn't watch that game, but I would imagine it was kind of the same kind of strategy. They won 2-1 in their Champions League game. I think they played Salzburg. Uh, it's kind of a hard one, right? But I think Chelsea gets lucky. I think they win something like 1-0. As much as I hate to say it, Aubameyang is not looking terrible. It's looking okay. Although big game Aubameyang is still there, right? Because he did miss a few solid chances against United. So yeah, I think Chelsea squeaks by and might maybe gets a 1-0 win. Um, Again, like some of these predictions, I kind of hope I'm wrong on that one, but yeah, I don't see Brighton getting the win. Maybe they do, maybe because it's at home. But I'll stick with my prediction and say 1-0 Chelsea.
Okay, and Liverpool are playing Leeds at home.
Ooh, wait, Leeds is at home. Let me see that.
No, 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 Liverpool at home.
Liverpool at home.
Oh yes.
Leeds, man. What is our guy from Men in Blazers? Um, calls them Leeds United States, right? Because they've got Jesse March, the U.S., the American as a coach. They got two American players. Uh yeah, I don't think Leeds is going to have enough firepower to keep up with Liverpool. I think, as much as I hate to say it, Liverpool, although they did have that topsy turvy week, beat the top of the league, lose to the team at the bottom of the league. They did look good in their Champions League match. I think they handle Leeds pretty easily and end up winning something like 2-0. I don't think Leeds is just like, yeah, they're just not good. I feel like our 1-0 result against them flattered them too much, and I think it wasn't that, like, we should have destroyed that team. Leeds is not good, and I don't think they're going to hold up against Liverpool. I'll say 2-0 Liverpool.
Okay, and Man United have got West Ham at home.
Oh, yeah, West Ham. Man United looked good this past game. Well, it was against Sheriff over. I don't even know what country they're in. I think it's like a team, like some small country that broke off from Russia or something like that. I don't know. I think, let me look at West Ham's form real quick, because I haven't really, like, West Ham hasn't been looking very good lately. They have, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 9, 10 points out of 15 possible in the last 5 games. A couple of them, I think I don't know if they're in Europa League or Europa Conference. But they're getting results, looking a little bit better. You know what? I'm gonna say West Ham wins this one. We'll say 2-1. We saw Ronaldo come back. They look a little bit better without Ronaldo. Um, but again, I just can't trust this United team. They're looking like they're kind of on the rise a little bit, but yeah, I think a team like I think West Ham United plays teams tough. They're a scrappy bunch. They always seem to be that way, and I think they outmuscle United 2-1.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah.
Talking about last weekend's fixtures, so when you look at it, we dropped a couple of points, but none of our rivals, apart from City, managed to close the gap on us. So we saw Chelsea and Man United draw, so both dropping 2 points. We saw Liverpool with that really surprising defeat to Nottingham Forest, so they dropped 3 points. We actually gained a point on them. And then
Hmm.
we saw Tottenham lose at home to Newcastle, so we gained a point in them too. So in terms of like Champions League, which we know is like our main target, the league, as we keep saying, that's just game by game. We can take it and see how that goes. But in terms of the Champions League places, we come out of that weekend in a better place. You know, even though we dropped 2 points, we're in a better
Hmm.
place compared to our main rivals for that. So yeah, let's hope some of our rivals will drop some more points this weekend as well. Tricky games, like for all of them. You know, there's no game that you'd say is looking like a walkover for any of them. Leeds, probably Liverpool against Leeds, you say is the one that most expected that Leeds should be. Sorry, Liverpool should be beating Leeds, but the rest of them are quite tricky. Like even from
Yeah,
when they're at home to West Ham, you say West Ham, good team. Brighton, good team as well. It's gonna be tricky for Chelsea. Tottenham going away to Bournemouth. The way they're playing at the moment, Tottenham, the way Bournemouth have picked up their form. That's
yeah.
tricky. And then for Man City as well, Leicester away is not going to be easy. Leicester picked up their form. So, let's hope like last weekend we can see our rivals drop points, but this time we take all 3 points rather than just the one. Let's beat Nottingham Forest. We really need to get that win, getting back into winning ways, beat Zurich. As I said to you last week, I hope I'm discussing with you our next week's show. 2 wins, it's going to be really important. And then we head into that massive game against Chelsea. And it's not long now until the break for the World Cup. So after this week, we just got them 3 games with Chelsea in the Premier League, Brighton in the Carabao Cup, and then Wolverhampton in the Premier League. So we're getting really close to the end of this segment of the Premier League before we get to that World Cup break. Let's hope we can win all 3 of our last Premier League games and remain top of the Premier League. That would be great to go into the World Cup at the top of the league.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, this is I think the loss came at the perfect time, if you can even really ever say that about a loss. Um, just because again, this is just an opportunity to reset. If I were a coach, I would just be like, "Hey, man, look, we had a great run. It's over now. Now is an opportunity to start a brand new run, right? So let's go on another run of unbeaten games and just gather as many points as we can before the World Cup comes, the January transfer window, and all that good stuff. Um, and again, just one game at a time. Let's just put our best starting foot forward against Nottingham Forest and shit, man, see what happens. You know what I mean? And I will say one thing before we go. Um, Shout out again to Austin FC. We were able to win the second round of the playoffs against FC Dallas, our in-state rival. Right, we hadn't beaten them at all in our entire existence, and our first victory against them was in the playoffs. So, like, that's going to be eternal bragging rights for a long time. And we are in the Western. There's a Western Conference and an Eastern Conference. We're in the Western Conference final against top seed LAFC, Los Angeles Football Club, and it'll be at 2 o'clock our time, right? So 9 a.m. I'll be at the tavern, watching with my Arsenal boys, and then as soon as that game is done, we're gonna go to a brewery right next to the stadium where we're gonna have a watch party, because the team play is playing over in LA. But yeah, for a chance to play for the MLS Cup. So it's been an incredible month of football. Arsenal is still top of the league, and whatever happens, like we're still in the mix. You know what I mean? So it's a great time to be a football fan in Austin, Texas. Um, yeah, and I'm excited, man. And like I said, yeah, exactly. Hopefully next week we're talking about 2 wins for Arsenal, and I'm buzzing about my hometown team playing for a trophy as well. So we'll see what happens, man. I don't know.
Congratulations, bro, and I wish you the
Yeah,
best of luck in the
yeah,
next round. One
yeah,
quick thing before we go though, the NBA is back on now. Been
yeah.
watching the games. The season started. I love NBA, as you know. Quick thing, your prediction for winner.
Oh, winner. Yeah, I think my winner. I think, man, this is tough because LA, your boy, the Lakers, 0-4 right now, so that's a surprise. Um, my San Antonio Spurs are actually playing really well right now. Again, it's early in the season. I'm gonna say I'm gonna go a little bit out of I'm gonna go with the reach. And wasn't a believer last year, but a friend of mine is a real big fan of this team. He's been talking good about them. They do have a young core. They got a great generational player who's finally healthy. Zion Williamson. I think the New Orleans Pelicans are going to surprise a lot of teams and a lot of people this year, and I think it's going to be them, and I think it's going to be against the Milwaukee Bucks. I think Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be back on his game again, and so I think it's going to be Milwaukee and New Orleans. Very very random matchup. Way too early to predict. Right, I'm probably going to be wrong, but I'm going to go with that. I'm just going to start there. What do you think?
Yeah, it's nice to do them early season predictions. As you say, NBA is such a long season still. There's so much to happen. We know it's just the early stages. You've got to get to the playoffs, and yeah, there's a long, long way to go. So can't read too much into the early season form. But from what I've seen so far, let's quickly talk about LA. It's really struggling. Sorry, the Lakers. LA Lakers really struggling. The Clippers as well. They've been losing the last couple of games. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so they're struggling. Golden State, they've dropped a game, but they do look good. They got Curry covered. That guy, he's just so good, man. He's so good. So they're going to be up there again. But for me, I think from what I've seen so far, the Boston Celtics, that team, I think they're just going to go strength from strength. It's a young team. They've started the season well. They look really strong to me. I think they're going to take confidence from last season.
yeah.
They lost in the playoff final, but it was against a great team. You know, they're just going to go from strength to strength. So I can see them doing well. So I'm going for them to definitely get to the final for me from that side. And from the other side, I think Phoenix. I,
Phoenix, yeah.
yeah, I think they're due. They were so good last season during the regular season. They finished up the top and they've done really well. So for my early prediction, I'm going to go for a final between them two teams. And for a winner between them two, I'm going to go for. This is a this is a
Yeah.
hard one. This is a hard one, but I'm gonna go with Phoenix.
I didn't pick my winner. Yeah, you said Phoenix. I said the matchup, but I think Milwaukee ends up winning. Yeah, but again, as you said, man, yeah, NBA's fun. Again, long season, 82 games. Teams that are looking good now, like my San Antonio Spurs, like everybody predicting them to be the worst team and end up with the number one pick for next year's draft. Right now they're 3-2 again, early, right? Only 5 games, but they've looked really good, and I've watched a couple of their games, and they're competing. They're a very young team, but obviously, like they're being built for the future in mind. So, but yeah, the Suns are a good team as well, and this might be one of their last runs before maybe that team ends up breaking up or whatever like that. But yeah, I also like CP3. I don't hate him, as a lot of people do. He's a very polarizing player, but I kind of want to see him do well. Um, yeah, it's gonna be exciting, man. I'm looking forward to like chatting about that as the season goes on as well. Because yeah, I love the NBA as well. Good shit.
Yeah, I was watching Phoenix the other day against Golden State, and they destroyed them.
Hmm.
And like Booker, what a player he is! Like he banged
Yeah.
the points, and yeah, they got some really good players there. So yeah, it's gonna be great to follow the NBA.
Oh
So
yeah, man.
thanks so much for your time as always.
Oh yeah, man. Always a pleasure, sir. And yeah, come on, you Gunners. Let's get them. I'll be excited. I cannot wait. It's gonna be a good. It's gonna be a fun weekend, man.
Yeah, bro. Come on, Arsenal. So that's all from us. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share.